The Solomon Islands, July 1978, by Alan Grant. Early one summer, as I was lounging in my hammock and dreaming of the South Pacific, I came across an ad for a sailing and scuba adventure in the Solomon Islands. I grabbed my globe, found the Solomons, and then I was off. Oceanic Expeditions was a sailboat charter company located in Sausalito who booked me with John and Jan Nichols on their boat Heart of Edna. The Solomon Islands are a 250-mile long diagonal archipelago northeast of Australia and east of Papua New Guinea. The 3 long air flights flew from Los Angeles completely across the Pacific to the southwest corner, passing Fiji, Vanuatu, and finally landing in the capital of the Solomons, Honiara, on Guadalcanal. The Heart of Edna was a 45-foot ferro-cement cat. The first passage was from Kirakira to the Three Sisters Islands, Malapina. The next leg continued north from Malapina to Ulawa. From Ulawa, we continued to the strait between Maramakise and Malaita. Then we headed back to Marau Sound at the eastern tip of Guadalcanal. Finally, we sailed overnight downwind along the north coast of Guadalcanal back to Honiara. The arrival by plane was at historic Henderson Field. The Solomon Islands were the site of some of the most fierce fighting of World War II in the Pacific. The control tower at Henderson, me sitting in the cockpit of a fighter, an unexploded bomb marks Lonely Hill, and the rusted barge on Red Beach. To get to the Heart of Edna, we flew from Honiara to Kirakira aboard a small plane. The path took us from Honiara to Kirakira, San Cristobal. The airport at Kirakira is nothing more than a grass clearing in the coastline jungle. Note the improvised luggage handler. The Heart of Edna had 7 guests. 3 of us did scuba. Myself with the captain, John Nichols. Up go the sails, and we make good time north to Malapina Island. A famous American marine biologist, Dr. Walter Stark, did studies in this island area in a tiny lagoon-side lab and lived on Malapina. Behind the house in the jungle towers a 175-foot banyan tree, also called a strangler fig. It grew around and killed another tree, which we will see in a minute. Banyan Tree Ascent on Malapina Island, Three Sisters, Maramakise Strait. The Solomon Islands are located northeast of Australia and Papua New Guinea. Above San Cristobal Island, we find the Three Sisters Islands. Malapina is the one that we went to, into the lagoon where the tree houses are. This is a detailed view of the lagoon and the structures And this is Walter Stark. Walter lived here for a short time and did marine research. He discovered the hollow banyan tree and was the first to climb to the top. Behind the home and the pier and the lab is the banyan tree in the middle of the jungle. Here's a climber ready to ascend the opening at the base. This is the lagoon side laboratory. And this is the banyan tree. The original tree rotted and died at the base of the tree, and the group heading towards the tree in the jungle. And one of the people at the base looking up. This is the hollow inside of the banyan tree with Captain John grabbing a hold of the vines and lifting himself up to about 150 feet where there's a knothole that he can climb out the side of the tree. And here is John climbing out the knothole and then ascending the rest of the way to the crown of the tree. In the notch at the crown of the tree, we find a mason jar, and inside of that is a small guest register that we all signed. Walter had a hammock strung here also previously. John leafing through the logbook, and one of the other passengers, Rob, and the wives down 175 feet below on the forest floor, waving back at us. John and Rob descending back down through the inside of the banyan tree to the base. And now it's my turn to come back down. I had a bit of a hard time finding the exit out the bottom of the tree. Heading north to a very remote island, Ulawa. People here speak a language with only 4,000 words. No tourists or other Westerners visit here, only the rare yachties such as ourselves. We are greeted by a few fishermen in dugout canoes. And as we enter the natural harbor, kids on the beach scramble to warn the village of the arrival of a boat. Captain John and one of the other guests up on the spreaders, navigating our way past shallow bommies into the harbor to the anchorage. There is a substantial wharf here, used for landing the occasional supplies from mainland areas. This is Robert, chief of the village. This is the men's spirit house with white-tipped shark totem. Inside the spirit house are pig jaws and other sacred items used in ceremonies. Robert remembers an American medic treating his shrapnel wound during the war when he was a child. He also knows the art of shark calling. Look at this blonde-haired child in the foreground. Paradoxically, Solomon Islanders are some of the darkest pigmented people on Earth. Only 3 small villages exist on Ulawa. Soccer is found even in this remote location, reflecting the British occupation after World War II. A panoramic view of the harbor at Ulawa. The harbor is protected by a dense mangrove forest. The prop roots dig into the lagoon bottom and protect against storm erosion. Kids swim out to the heart of Edna and teach some of us their local songs. At sunset we depart Ulawa, continuing our voyage north. We arrive at Malaita in a narrow strait at Marmasike. The nearby village has made a public water fountain by damming up a stream and providing bamboo plumbing. Just pull up with a jug in your dugout and fill her up. Jan on the bow pulpit as we head south towards the spectacular Murao Sound. Murao Sound is a spectacular archipelago of tiny islets at the eastern end of Guadalcanal. Charles Humphreys, dead now, a World War II RAF pilot, with his wife owned the Tavanapuppu Resort. Here we see a yachty arriving by seaplane and greeted on shore by Charles Humphreys. A narrow channel in front of Tavanapuppu Resort makes a perfect guncle. While we were there, we shared the anchorage with the old Baltic trader, Klaraborg, seen in the distance, the black-hulled ship. The Solomon Islands pennant flying on the heart of Edna in a cloudy twilight. As we serenade our last night aboard of the heart of Edna with Captain John playing us a serenade on a waterlogged, broken down guitar. Back in the harbor at Honiara, we celebrate by throwing the captain overboard in ceremony. Less than a month later, the Heart of Edna struck a reef in the Louisiade archipelago and sank. The Heart of Edna at anchor in the Solomon Islands. And Jan and John Nichols in Australia, where they live now. They've both written a book called Dreamer of the Day. And that's the end.